If you're a beginner and you want to get better, this is the video for you. So I've been making music for over 20 years, and I've seen the way that I've improved change dramatically over that time. Meaning the way that I got better in the beginning is way different than how I get better at my craft now, which doesn't stop. A lot of guys, when they're just starting out, they think that, oh, once I get to this point, then I'll know everything, and then I'll be able to make perfect music all the time. That does not exist. That is fantasy land. You're always going to get better. You always want to get better. The minute you stop wanting to get better is when all of that progress stops, and then everybody's going to pass you up. And then you're going to be that old guy who's like, oh, people got to make music how I used to make it. And nobody likes those guys. So how do you get better as a beginner? Now, I did another video on just improving in general, and I think that this video is a little bit different because of where a beginner is at and the complexity in what it is we do as music producers. So I'm breaking it down into 3 things: practice, copying everyone all the time, and stop trying to be an expert. So let's talk about the first one, practice. Most beginners don't have this problem, which is ironic that the more experience you get, the harder it is to practice. I think it's probably a feeling of expecting more results out of all the time that you put in. But when you just start out, you're just having fun. You're just like, I'm putting stuff together. This is amazing. I'm putting the sounds together and I'm making songs. It's awesome. But if you don't practice and maintain that energy and enthusiasm throughout your career, it's just going to become a grind. So practicing, showing up all the time, because if you don't, your skill is just going to diminish over time and you're just going to quit like so many people do. And also practicing intentionally. Dude, when you learn something new or you have an idea you want to try, spending some good quality time trying to figure it out. As I'm sure that you've experienced as a beginner, you'll run into something where you want to do something, and when you try to do it, it doesn't sound like what you're trying to do. And there's a little bit of friction there. Practice and continual effort in trying to resolve that issue or that problem is how you get better at the fundamental basis of pretty much any creative pursuit. All right, the second point is copying everyone constantly. Now, normally when I suggest this to people, they go, oh, I don't want to copy anyone. I want to be the most original artist that's ever been around. I want to come up with all new ideas that are going to change the world, even though I've only been producing for 2 weeks. Guess what, dude? You got to learn the rules before you break them. And if you do break the rules, you're not doing it on purpose, and then you won't be able to replicate that later. So trying to replicate what other people are doing right now is a great way to understand music. I used to do this with beginner students all the time. They'd come to me and say, I want to make a song just like Flux Pavilion. And we'd be like, okay, cool. Let's grab a Flux Pavilion track and load it into Ableton. Then we'll get the exact BPM, the key, and then just start remaking the song from the ground up. I mean, most of the time, it's not going to sound exactly like your favorite artist, but you'll understand structure. You'll understand the different elements that occur in each section. You'll understand how to make a build-up, all the elements. When you're doing all this stuff piece by piece, it helps you cement those foundational principles in the music that you're making, the rules, if you will. And over time, you can learn how to bend and break those rules so you can make something new and fresh. But the point is, if you try to start out by being an innovator without really knowing what's going on, it's going to be just a lot of painting in the dark. And you don't want to do that. You want to have good fundamental skills to build off of, because that's what will make you a really well-rounded artist in the long run. And the last point, don't try to be an expert. There's a temptation for some artists when they start out that they want to learn every single mixing technique. They want to learn how to design every single sound. They want to know all the vernacular, all the terms, so they can sound like they know what they're doing. That's all BS. The most important thing is learning how to make a good song. And if you don't know how to sound design something, use a preset or a sample. If you don't know how to structure a song, copy the structure of another song. When you're just starting out, there's so much coming at you. There's so many things, so much depth to learning how to make music, mix music, be a sound designer, and a songwriter on top of that. Trying to learn all of that stuff at once is just overwhelming, and it's not a good use of your time, and it's not very fun. all the technical stuff isn't very fun. That's what you want to get to later on when you've got ideas, when you got solid ideas, but you just want to refine them and polish them. That's when you go and start learning, like, oh, okay, we got to start learning this EQ technique or this vocal processing technique or this sound design technique. Focus on the basics and fundamentals to start, and then you can get to expert level later on. And I would say, if anything, if you're going to try to pursue one thing in the beginning, focus on songwriting. Focus on the idea of the song, because the foundation of a song, the idea, is 90% of it already. Maybe not 90%, but like 75%. Because you could have a really well polished turd that sounds great. Everything's, polished right, that it's all pristine, but the idea is crap, and nobody wants to listen to a crap song. So focus on the songwriting first, and worry about all of the fine-tuning and polishing later, because you'd be surprised too at how many songs are put out there and blow up that are not super polished or expert approved. So to recap, first one, practice. Get your studio time in. Second one, copy everyone all the time. And third, don't try to be an expert. And as a beginner, just have fun, man. Making music's supposed to be fun. Don't put all this pressure on yourself. Do it for fun. Have fun with it. See what you can make. Try new things. You'll have plenty of time later in your career to put some pressure on yourself and have an existential crisis, but it's too early for that right now. Just get in the DAW and have some fun. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. We'll see you in the next one.